It's easy to feel like happiness is always a few steps away, just beyond a career breakthrough, a perfect weekend, or a long overdue holiday. Life turns into a cycle of chasing joy instead of living it. But what if you could shift your perspective and start building happiness right where you are? That begins with changing how you experience the everyday. Drinking your morning coffee slowly, noticing the way light falls across your kitchen wall, writing down one thing that felt good today. These small moments aren't trivial. They're powerful. Over time, they train your brain to spot the good, even when life feels messy. You don't need to overhaul your life to feel better. That, in a nutshell, is Maria Baltazzi's message. What you do need is a new lens, one that helps you see what's already here with more presence and intention. This goes beyond simply learning to observe your life more closely. It's about beginning to create it, to become your own writer, director, and producer of the life you want. And in that role, you get to decide what kind of story you're telling and how it feels to live inside it. Forget the fantasy that happiness shows up when everything clicks into place. The job, the relationship, the money, the perfect house. That's a trap. You hit one goal, and almost instantly your mind jumps to the next. This cycle of wanting more, known as hedonic adaptation, keeps you chasing instead of arriving. It's not about being ungrateful. It's about how quickly we adjust and how external wins stop feeling satisfying. It's a cliché, but it's true. Happiness doesn't come from outside. It starts within. That, though, is good news. It means it's something you can build, not overnight, not with a single breakthrough, but gradually through small, consistent actions. Things like practicing gratitude, letting go of grudges, noticing joy in ordinary moments. These aren't extras. They're the foundation. It's brushing your teeth while appreciating that you have running water. It's saying thank you and actually meaning it. It's calling someone just to hear their voice, or choosing to respond with kindness even when you're tired. None of it is flashy, but all of it adds up. One of the biggest mistakes we make is postponing happiness. I'll focus on feeling better once life calms down. But life doesn't calm down. Not for long, anyway. And waiting puts you in a loop where happiness is always somewhere in the future. The kids will get older, the inbox will shrink, the stress will pass, but so will the amount of time left for you to be happy. In other words, happiness doesn't live in a calmer future. It lives in the present tense, in how you relate to this moment. So let's shift the frame. Remind yourself that happiness isn't a mood or a reward. It's a skill. Keep doing it until it sticks. And remember, too, that, like anything else worth learning, it takes practice. You train for it by showing up for yourself in tiny, doable ways. Maybe you journal what went right today. Maybe you cut back on the things that drain you. Maybe you walk a bit slower just to enjoy the breeze. Neuroscience is on your side here. Studies show that qualities like optimism and resilience can be strengthened through deliberate effort. Your brain physically changes based on what you repeat. The more you act like a happy person, the more natural it becomes. This isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about choosing to build something better, step by step. Set up habits that support your whole self, body, mind, and spirit. Happiness isn't waiting to be discovered. It's something you craft with your own hands, right where you are. Want to make that choice stick? Let's look at what it really means to take charge of your thoughts. If happiness starts with a choice, then the next step is owning that choice, not once, but over and over. As we said, real change happens when you stop waiting for good days to arrive and start showing up with intention, regardless of the mood, the weather, or the chaos around you. You're not reacting to life anymore. You're shaping it. This doesn't mean pretending to be cheerful or sidestepping real problems. It means bringing your choices into alignment with what actually matters to you. Living from your values. When that alignment clicks, even the hard moments feel less random. There's a kind of steadiness in knowing your actions reflect who you really are. But here's the piece that trips most people up. Your belief system. The quiet, often inherited storylines you carry sets the limits on what you think is possible. You might believe that happiness is indulgent, or that you have to earn rest, or that putting yourself last is noble. These aren't facts, they're scripts, and unless you pause and question them, they'll keep running the show. This shift isn't just philosophical, it's biological. Research on what's known as the happiness set point shows that around half of your baseline mood is genetic. 10% comes from circumstances like your job or where you live, but the remaining 40%, that's yours to shape. It comes down to the habits of mind you practice every day. And even the 50% that's genetic isn't set in stone. Your genes aren't fixed instructions, they're possibilities. How you think, act, and interact with your environment influences what gets activated. Over time, new habits can reset your emotional default. This kind of training isn't for spiritual gurus only. It's for anyone willing to pay attention. When you catch your brain spiraling, worrying, criticizing, imagining worst-case scenarios, stop and ask, is this useful? That moment of reflection is the first domino in a chain of better choices. So ask yourself honestly, are you waiting for life to get easier before you feel better? Or are you ready to feel better so life becomes easier to navigate? When you stop attaching happiness to specific outcomes and choose it as a daily practice, things begin to shift. And if you're wondering what that daily practice might look like, don't worry. It starts simpler than you think. Let's break it down. Big breakthroughs are great, but let's be honest. Most of life isn't a breakthrough. It's ordinary, sometimes overwhelming, often unpredictable. The secret is this: you don't need a breakthrough to feel better. You need better daily habits, especially the small ones. Joy can start with something as simple as sitting quietly with your morning coffee, not multitasking, not checking the news, just being still, watching the world for a few minutes. It sounds minor, but these moments anchor you. They create space for hope to grow. They remind you that even when everything else feels out of control, you still have a say in how your day begins. One of the fastest ways to lose that space? Noise. News cycles and social media can flood your mind with fear, envy, and distraction. None of that helps your nervous system or your mood. Try limiting how much you take in. Pick one time to catch up on headlines, then step away. See what shifts. You don't have to be uninformed, just unhooked. Next, give yourself something uplifting to feed on. It could be a podcast, a passage from a book, or a quote on your phone background. Even a funny video that makes you laugh counts. The goal is to tip your emotional state upward. Just a little. Not perfection, just momentum. And don't forget movement. Joy lives in the body too. Put some music on and dance, badly, freely, like no one's watching. It works because your body can shake off tension faster than your brain can take it away. If dancing's not your thing, take a walk, stretch, or do 5 jumping jacks. Anything that shifts your physical energy. Finally, go outside. Seriously, just go outside. Sunlight, fresh air, dirt under your feet, they calm your system, clear your head, and reconnect you to something bigger than your to-do list. Even a few deep breaths at an open window can help. Together, these 5 small actions create an upward spiral. They won't solve every problem, but they will build your resilience. They help you meet the day with a little more lightness and a little more trust in yourself. But what if you're the one holding space for someone else? Let's look at how to support someone when they're stuck in a storm of their own. When someone close to you is feeling down, it's easy to feel helpless. You want to lift them up, say the right thing, make it better. But often, the most powerful thing you can do is simply be there and be present. That means no phones, no multitasking, no fixing. Just sit, listen. Let them speak without rushing to fill the silence or steer the conversation. When someone is hurting, being truly heard can be healing all on its own. You're creating space for them to just be messy, confused, teary, angry, or all of the above. Presence says, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. Give them room to feel. Maybe they repeat the same story. Maybe they cry over something small. Maybe they don't even know exactly what's wrong. That's okay. Emotional expression is often how people start to make sense of what they're feeling. Let them ramble. Let them contradict themselves. Let them breathe. But if they've been stuck in the same loop for a long time, days or weeks or longer, you might need to encourage movement. Not with pressure, but with compassion. You can remind them gently that staying stuck isn't serving them. You can ask, What's one thing we could try today to help you feel even a little better? Even a walk to the corner or a warm meal can break the inertia. Avoid default phrases like everything happens for a reason or just think positive. They're meant to comfort but often fall flat. Instead, ask what would help in the moment. Sometimes it's a nap. Sometimes it's a distraction. Sometimes it's just more listening. If their pain feels bigger than what you can hold, don't ignore it. Suggest professional support. Offer to research therapists or send helpful links. Remind them that asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom and often the first real step toward healing. Also, never underestimate physical presence. A hug, a hand on their back, bringing them tea without a word. These gestures speak volumes, especially when words fall short. Being a source of steady support isn't about having all the answers. It's about offering calm in someone else's storm. You just have to show up, stay steady, and remind them they're not alone. Breaking free from old habits, even destructive ones, is hard. They're familiar, they're safe, they're known. Even when they hurt you, they offer a strange kind of comfort because at least you know what to expect. That's why change so often feels terrifying, even when you're sure it's what you need. This is where faith comes in. Not necessarily in a religious sense, but as trust. Trust that if you take a step into the unknown, something will catch you. Trust that a new way can work. Think Indiana Jones facing the yawning ravine in The Last Crusade. One shaky step into the void, and the bridge appears beneath him. Faith is what makes that first step possible, even when you can't see the ground. The same thing applies in real life. Starting therapy, ending a toxic relationship, quitting the job that's draining you, saying no for the first time. All of it requires stepping into uncertainty. You won't know how it turns out, and faith is what helps you do it anyway. Neuroscience backs this up. Your brain is wired to repeat what you've done before. Actions, thoughts, and emotions form feedback loops. That's why you keep reacting in the same ways. But the brain is also plastic. It can change. When you introduce a new thought and give it your attention, you start laying down fresh neural pathways. You're literally carving out a new way of being. Here's a simple practice. When a painful thought pops up, don't push it down or argue with it. Instead, bring to mind a moment when you felt calm, safe, or joyful. Hold that for 30 seconds. Picture it clearly. Let your body feel it. The more you do this, the more you train your brain to reach for that new emotional state, and the less power the old one holds. It's slow work, but powerful. And yes, it takes courage. You'll have days when you want to retreat. That's normal. Faith reminds you that progress doesn't have to feel perfect. It just has to feel possible. It's about staying in motion, even when your legs are shaking. Start by reflecting. What patterns are you ready to leave behind? What do you want more of? Then set intentions. Make them small and specific. Prioritize the basics: rest, movement, sunlight, boundaries. Self-care isn't a luxury. It's what keeps you brave. Because in the end, transformation doesn't come from waiting. It comes from one clear choice: to leap, even when the path is invisible, and to trust that something good is waiting on the other side.